I love seeing stories like
to
this.
win $7,500. I mean, it's such a Jim Dunaway moment, right? Yeah. It seems so easy, Brown. I can make $7,500.
All Penn State has to do is win.
They just got to win the game.
Big at UCLA.
No, I think it's wiping your ass with a ticket, doing it the other way. Like, I've got $1,000 to win $200,000 with this live dog winning outright, but I would rather see you do that.
Yeah, to gamble on UCLA shocking the world.
Yeah.
Insanity.
I tried to, for doing 4 downs, I was like, is there even an upset in that realm this year? And there's not. Like
this year?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, I've got the point spread ones right here. UCLA is now number 1, 24.5.
Oh, week 6 in the books. College football, week 5, almost in the books. We've got one really, really good matchup that we will get into. Monday Night Football tonight with the Chiefs heading to Jacksonville. Duval to take on the Jags. The one and only Brock Huard joins us right here on Unlocked. Always brought to you by our friends at MyBookie. Use that promo code NEXTROUND. Any bet you choose up to $500, fully covered. Make your play if it doesn't hit. Get it right back when you opt in using the BetBack bonus token. Code word NEXTROUND at mybookie.ag. We're going to start with the NFL today, Brock. But first, I got a text from a buddy of mine that lives in your area there in Colorado, and he said, man, I think I'm going to Vista Valor tonight. But then he hit me up and he said it was sold out. The game was sold out. He couldn't get a ticket. And I heard it was a heartbreaking loss, 38-36. You guys went down. But I would assume you played better, though, right?
We played a lot better. Yeah, I played a lot better, made a bunch of plays, got some stops, gave ourselves a chance. Lance, I sound just like a coach, but change is a brewing. Change now after a couple tough losses. I think a lot of our young guys are going to get more opportunity, which will be pretty cool. And we got to get right. And the schedule kind of leans in a way to get right the next 4 weeks before the playoffs. So we're going to have all sorts of fun to talk about, but sold out. Feisty, maybe a coach threw at one of our players at the end of the game. They're still studying the tape from the other side. They rushed the field. It's a nasty little rivalry.
Wait, go back.
It was a heck of a football game.
Maybe one of the coaches did what?
Threw it through.
Are you kidding?
Pushed.
Wow.
Yeah, no, not kidding. No, not kidding. Wasn't a great sight. Was not. It was kind of like the Sanchez news too, as it's unfolded over the weekend. And I love Mark, and he's a friend of mine. But you just kind of were like, what?
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I mean, look, let's
doesn't make sense.
You know, and I wasn't trying to make light of the situation. Obviously, it's really, really serious. But you know, one of my 4 downs questions was, what was more shocking over the weekend, UCLA knocking off Penn State or the Mark Sanchez news? Because the more you hear about it, it's a stranger thing. And I've only spent maybe 30, 45 minutes with Sanchez. He was in Birmingham doing some rehab or something. And we've got a mutual friend, and just catching up with him and talking USC football and the NFL. He seemed like one of those low-key Southern California guys. He's obviously, you know, a colleague of yours there at Fox. I mean, I don't even know. None of it makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Nope. And it's super, super sad. It was a horrific choice. And now the pictures are out of the guy. I don't know if you saw that today at the New York Post, the 68-year-old. I mean, just like Mark saying, I don't know. It's just a really, really ugly deal all the way around. And it was about as ugly. You want to start with the NFL, but I got to say this. Sitting on my couch Saturday watching some college football, my parents were in town. Coach Huard was in town. That Texas game starts, and I kick myself right in the nuts because you put me on the spot. You said of these 3 games, and I wanted to say Florida at home in the swamp, Texas going on the road, but I just thought, you know, their roster, Legway struggled. The offense going to have a hard time scoring 10 points. I just couldn't do it. And yet when that game started, I'm like, I'm an idiot. That's a game. That's a game. Florida's got dudes, man. Florida's got a lot of dudes. Billy Napier has been Lazarus, resurrected multiple times from the dead. Like, I should have, could have, would have trusted them to get that done, and they did. They did. Of all those games that you pressed me about, that is the one. Honestly, I was sitting there going, doggone it.
Yeah.
You know better.
Well,
you
look,
know better than that.
I didn't. We were 3-5 on Saturday, so it was not a good day at lanceslive.com. Of course, we did have another winning day in the NFL where we're 17-7, over 70% clip right now. We got another winner up and available for you right now. But that was one of those games. I agree with you. Like, when it started, I felt like Florida's going to win this game the entire game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
there wasn't for a moment there that I thought Texas was the overwhelmingly better team. And sometimes just that simple eye test. You don't even need your algorithms. You don't need your next level stats. You don't need to know the recruiting rankings. You just, your eyes start to watch a game in the first quarter of it, the first half of the quarter. And you're like, Florida at home feels like the better team today. And this young quarterback is just making his second start. And first one was up in the shoe, this one in the swamp. It is rabid. It is passionate. Can he carry the way he needs to carry a team right now with receivers that are underwhelming, with a group and a run game that isn't what it's been over the previous years? And all of it's going to fall, as it just does, on the quarterback, and it's all on Arch, and it's all Arch's fault, and Arch isn't this, and Arch isn't that, and that's not the reality. But I think he's in a position where he's got to carry more than I think you anticipated, I anticipated, Joel Klatt anticipated. I think everybody anticipated, as they were one of the top-ranked teams in the country coming into this thing. Nothing
is more humbling than the NFL. And let's get to the Wild Wild West. Let's start last Thursday. My Rams hosting the 49ers. I'm one of those that if I was watching any other game, I'd be like, the Rams, just the way they were moving the ball down, second possession in overtime. I still, the Kyron Williams fumble before that. There were so many things that went wrong. And the 49ers down 7 starters. To be able to win that game, I don't even want to say on the road. We know it's Levi South there for Niners fans. I guess the Rams kind of got a break with the Colts and A.D. Mitchell fumbling that ball, and I guess the breaks went the wrong way with the 49ers. But, how do you explain a loss like that to – more so, how do you explain Mac Jones playing like that? Like I always believed, and you probably remember this, John Lynch wanted Trey Lance, Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. If Mac Jones goes to the 49ers, I think he's got a $50 million a year contract. It's not Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy never gets drafted. I think the narrative is completely different, but Mac Jones finally looked like a first-round draft pick this past Thursday night.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, if you're a Rams fan, that is as infuriating as if you're a Seahawks fan. It's as infuriating. Tampa was down starter after starter after starter. No Evans, no Bucky, 2 corners. And you're like, yeah, man, you're the better team. Go out there and impose your will. And I think Sean McVay believed his Rams over 60-plus minutes were the better team. You're going to impose your will. Mike McDonald, we just got off with him. It's always fun doing this with you, Lance, because I just literally minutes ago finished with Mike McDonald, and you could tell he's furious with the lack of physicality. I would say the same thing with the Rams, right? Like I know they hit Mac and not nearly knocked him out of the game, but their tackling throughout that game was underwhelming, to say the least. You felt like they should at home impose their will, get to 4-1, take care of your opponent, make sure they don't go 3-0 in the division. They didn't do it. I'll say this about Mac. I think Mac is one of these guys that in a 3 or 4 game stint could be the best backup in the NFL. Like he gets rid of the ball, he throws it accurately, he's super, super smart, but I don't think that body sustains for 17 weeks in the NFL. Like from a and I shouldn't judge, but like just the bad body look of just woof.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, he does seem like Steve DeBerg rolling out there in his 40s playing.
Well, Steve had, yes, maybe in his 40s, but Steve had like length and muscle fiber. Like Mac's got like no glutes. He's got like no muscle. He's got like no definition.
Have you ever seen that picture of him smoking the cigar after the Tennessee? Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know how this is possible. Like you are a starting quarterback in the SEC. You should just look better with your shirt off.
That whole deal. But you know what? Kind of like pitchers that, Greg Maddux that was frumpy dumpy but had the greatest command ever. Mac's got unbelievable command. He's got great toughness. He's got tremendous accuracy. And when he throws on time and that ball is out, and Kyle Shanahan, you could argue, through 5 games is doing the best coaching of his entire career. Down that starter, that Hall of Famer, that player, and quarterback, turnstile. And here's Mac Jones playing great. So, yeah, kudos to them. They're in front of the division. They're undefeated in the division. And your Rams and my Seahawks going to be chasing them now.
Yeah, let's go to the Seahawks. And look, good uniform games over the weekend. Miami, Florida State, I thought was a good one. UCLA, Penn State. But the best uniform games was the throwback to the 70s, the Bucks and the Seahawks. And how your team, and again, I mean, I'm sure you're like me. You don't mind when an NFC West foe loses to an out-of-division in Tampa here. But when you guys get up late, I mean, Sam Darnold's been so freaking good, too.
So
How
good.
he throws that
So
pick.
good.
And it goes off a helmet. Levante David makes a great play there. I can't believe the concentration. He's able to pull that thing in. But, I mean, how do you explain the late fourth quarter meltdown?
Yeah, it's a bummer. And it was, I mean, do you realize Sam is the number 2 QBR in the NFL? Do you know who the number 1 QBR rated QB in the NFL is right now as we sit here this morning?
Would have said probably Dak Prescott.
Dak's up there. Dak's top 5. Josh is top 5. Sam's 2. The number 1 is
Matt
Daniel
Stafford?
Jones. Daniel Jones. So just as everybody assumed coming into the season, Daniel Jones in Indy, Sam Darnold in Seattle, lots of new pieces around him.
Hey,
They're
that
the
Colts
number
team is
1
good, man. They are really,
good.
really good.
They are good. Sam is good. Sam's completing 73% of his passes. He's number 2 QBR. He's got a 114 passer rating, number 3 in the NFL. 9 touchdowns to 3 picks. Their decision to go Sam Darnold for cheaper and younger over Geno Smith is paying off a 100-fold. Like, he's been great, but their defense yesterday was atrocious. And Baker Mayfield's a really good player. Like, let's put some respect on Baker's name. They've won the NFC South. I don't care if it's still the NFL, and I don't care if that division's been bad. He's won it, 3 straight years? And the dude is just swashbuckling. He's perfect for Tampa. He should put that sword in between his teeth that they have on their old logo, because he's the perfect swashbuckling, just cocksureness, just gunslinging. 29 to 33 for 379 yesterday. And I mean, he was incredible. So, kudos to him, kudos to Mac Jones. Those guys, like that Arch comment I said about elevating and having to erase other people's mistakes. He's at a really young point in his career. And Baker and Sam and those guys couldn't do it early. Mac Jones, they're doing it now. They're doing it now in big, big time ways.
Well, I mean, look, Baker, he's in the MVP conversation, no doubt. I mean, final drive against the Falcons, win. Final drive against Texans, win. Against the Jets, win. Against your Seahawks, win. The only one they lost, and boy, and it came down to it, and I thought they were going to win against the Eagles. So, the Rams have got them coming up later in November. I don't want to see that guy with ball in hand with an opportunity to tie or win the game, because he is that good in that moment. And I wonder, just back to Mac Jones real quick, could Mac Jones have a revival like Baker Mayfield?
And I think it's just the body for me. Like, there's a reason he was the number 1 pick, right? I mean, he's not the biggest. He's like 6'1", but he's stout. He's athletic. He's bow-legged. He's built right. You grab him and he can break things and sustain things. He's not a dual threat quarterback, but he is a runner and can extend. Sam Darnold is, 6'3" and 215 and a good athlete and put together well. And he too can create and throw left and throw right. Like, the hard thing for me, like, could he do it? Sure. Would he need a supporting cast like Brock Purdy's had in San Fran the last couple of years? Yes. Had that been him, to your point, the last couple of years? Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's probably the one with the extension. It's just physically that body and sustaining and enduring the punishment you do take at the NFL level, Lance. To me, that's the thing that he'd have to check the box and prove me otherwise.
It is Unlocked with our friend Brock Huard. It is always brought to you by MyBookie. If you're new to MyBookie, use that promo code NEXTROUND. Any bet you choose, sides, totals, futures, up to $500, fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using the BetBack bonus token. Code word NEXTROUND at mybookie.ag. The craziest of crazies. Again, the ultimate humble, the Arizona Cardinals. And believe it or not, I have got a friend, one of my best friends in the world is a big Cardinals guy. And we were texting back and forth yesterday, and he's like, I'm done with Kyler Murray. And this is before the fourth quarter. He's like, he just got hit in the head with a snap, and they're having to take him in to check out concussion. Like, this guy is just way too inconsistent. I'm done with him. And I said, man, you guys are about to be 3-2, the same record as the Rams. It's not like you guys are out of this. And then we saw exactly what happened with A.D. Mitchell. You have a 71-yard, takes it to the house. I didn't even know the Amari DeMarcado kid out of TCU.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm. DeMarcado. Yeah.
DeMarcado. He goes in there. It's a 28-6 game. The game is completely over.
Over. It's going to be over.
And
it's going to be over.
And I'm to the point, I don't know how you feel about this, Coach Huard now, that if you're not Puka, if you're not Justin Jefferson, if you're not Derrick Henry, if you're not Saquon Barkley, you are taking the football and you're handing it to the official. Okay? And then you can celebrate however you want. But we're making sure that we're not having 52 other guys and a full staff where everybody's livelihood, and you only get 17 of these games, is on the line for you to, for whatever that is, showboating and dropping it short of the line. I cannot believe how often this happens. One time's enough, but what do you do as a coach in that situation? And how in the hell, even with that, how do they lose this game?
Did you see what Jonathan Gannon did? Did you see the video on the sidelines? It was, I gotta see a little bit more of it and understand the full context. And maybe he's got relationship with that young player to put his hands on him and shake him and do all that. But that's not a look that you see with today's coaches and today's players that you get away with very much. So that will be kind of worth watching. Yeah, whether you hand it to your ref or hand it to your lineman or hand it to your teammate, that means they're all in the end zone. That means you're all celebrating that. Yeah, it's dumbfounding. I will say, Lance, for some of the things that we may have been wrong on and in this predictive world of picking games or different things, the one thing that's been pretty consistent for us for 5 weeks is these programs trying to get over the hump. These programs trying to change the narrative. Penn State trying to get that win. Maryland trying not to be Maryland when you're up 3 scores in the fourth quarter and not fall apart. The Arizona Cardinals trying to prove that you are a trustworthy team and organization and won't make the catastrophic mistakes. Like, that's the one thing that, as we have talked over these 4 or 5 weeks, that has been fairly consistent with some of these programs professionally, collegiately, trying to change the narrative, trying to get over the hump, yet here in 2025 have not been able to do so.
Well, one team that looks like they got over the hump and by the way, we have no undefeated teams in the NFL after Bo Nix leading Denver back. I'll get your thoughts on them going for 2. But quickly, the New England Patriots, 7.5 point underdogs. They go in to Buffalo and Drake May. I mean, that final drive.
Awesome.
I thought that they would be improved. I think they're showing the personality of their head coach and Mike Vrabel. But they're going to be a difficult out. I'm not prepared to say they're a postseason team yet in the crowded AFC, but what a statement win from the young Patriots.
100%. Yeah, they kind of feel, and it is too early to do this, and I'm not going to put this full stamp of approval, but don't they kind of feel a little bit like last year's Washington Commanders?
A little bit, yeah.
That you have a new coach, you have a sustainable guy. In Washington, it was new ownership, it was coach, it was, young quarterback, and then they spent in free agency and got the Bobby Wagners and got veteran players that are good players, maybe not elite, but a bunch of good players. And I think if you look at New England and you listen to Mike and Chris last night kind of point that out, like, hey, now they had an unbelievable amount of cap space, and they have an owner that will spend cash, and they got the right head coach and the right coordinators and the right good veteran players. And now Drake May's like, gosh, I don't have to do everything. Last year I had to do everything. I mean, it was a mess. Now I don't have to do everything, but yet when I'm called upon, I've got some pretty unique talent, and he was big time. I was curious to see, he's got a little of that Chapel Hill, that little bit of that North Carolina, a little bit of that easygoing Southerner stuff, but he's kind of showing up there in New England and in that market in particular that he's got some stones too, and he's delivered big time.
Now, there is something off with the Eagles. They're up 17-3 in the fourth quarter. And I know, people are going to point to Jalen. He's not going to – if they're not running the football like they did last year, there could be problems with this offense. But for Denver to go down, Evan Ingram scores the touchdown, and instead of kicking with a half a quarter to go, Sean Payton decides to go for 2. I know there's some analytics involved. I was blown away. They went for 2. They get it. They hold on for the win there. Do you go for 2 in that situation?
I loved it, man. I loved it. I thought it was a tremendous. The only way you go for it too, Lance, is it's a little bit like these decisions. Over the years, I had so much fun, and it's what I missed maybe the most of being on the road. The venues, the locales, my teammates, awesome. But also what he missed is these coaches' meetings and production meetings, and the times that the coaches, Chip Kelly, would pull me in the office afterwards and show me the 3 or 4 things like, hey, man, just keep an eye out for this. Or Brett Bielema one time in Arkansas was like, hey, look at this. Let me show you what we found here. And in this punt here, we're going to have a fake punt. If this and this and this happens, right? And it sets up in this area of the field at this time of the game, be ready. And having just kind of that background and some of that intel going in was so much fun. And I think that was the same thing yesterday, is that if you talk to Sean Payton going into the game and said, hey, if you can, tie or go for 2 in the last 10 minutes of this game, do you have a matchup? Do you have a play? Do you have a guy that you feel good about 9 out of 10 times? Not 5 out of 10, not 2 out of 10, but 9 out of 10 times you're going to win that route, win that one-on-one, low risk play, move the pocket and get it to them. And that answer was yes. So when they get to that moment, I don't think there's any hesitation. Even on that drive, they're saying, all right, we're going to go for 2. And oh, by the way, we're going to get Franklin on number 7, and we're going to win that 9 out of 10 times. And because of it, it put a lot of pressure on Philadelphia. Yeah, I was on the couch right here watching it with my dad. Like, that is a tremendous game preparation and then even better game execution.
The one thing I cannot explain through 5 weeks is how Baltimore had a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter in Buffalo. And now in their 4 losses, they've given up 41 points, 38 points, 37 points, and 44 yesterday at home to a Texans offense that was really, really struggling. Tell me how this happens, and then tell me, if you're John Harbaugh, what do? They've got the Rams this week, and I'm asking for a friend. Lamar Jackson's got the hamstring injury, and they've got a bye after that. They're obviously desperate at 1-4. But with the hamstring, and you know how tricky that can be, do you rest him again this week knowing you've got a bye to have the 3 full weeks, or do you try to rush him back?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just all dependent legitimately on where he is at and their medical personnel. And you would think common sense would say, hey, man, it's not all over yet. But you get to 1-5, and I'm sure you can look in the annals of playoff teams. How many of them were 1-5 and went on a kind of run to do what you've got to do?
Terrible
he's
division.
A Superman that is, yeah, he's a super in a bad division. He's a Superman capable of that. Or we put him back out here, and now he redings it, and we're going to lose him even after the bye week. So my gut would say you sit him. The other end of that is Daniel Jeremiah is on our show every week during the football season, Lance, and he cut his teeth there in Baltimore. He knows that organization inside out, how proud they are. And he was surprised even after last week's debacle that there wasn't some defensive movement. I know John Harbaugh has publicly given the vote of confidence for that defensive coordinator and staff. But when it's at this point, yeah. And if they struggle again, maybe he's just waiting for the bye week to make that kind of change. But that's not Raven football. That's not even close. And there's going to have to be some change made on that side.
And I would think with Sean McVay and a red-hot Matt Stafford coming in with extra time off from the Thursday night to a full week Sunday, the Rams have got to be licking their chops offensively, just when you see how bad that defense has been.
And you look at the schedule beforehand, and I'm sure you do this and go, yeah, that should be a win, and that one should be a win. In the preseason, you looked at that one like, oh yeah, at Baltimore, that's tough. And well, now no Lamar, an absolutely decimated defense, also with some of their injuries playing the way they are. Now the only danger is you kind of get a desperate animal, right? I mean, that's the other side of that. And as we learned with Penn State traveling, UW traveling all the way across the country is not an easy deal, but yeah, you sure, if you're a Rams fan, which I know you are, you sure would take this side of it without Lamar and this defense struggling the way they are.
Okay, for the record, I think the Colts are the best team in the AFC South. I think they are really, really good. And maybe Daniel Jones is the next Baker Mayfield. But the Jaguars host Kansas City. Kansas City getting Xavier Worthy back last week. The offense looked good. Now Jacksonville at 3-1, wanting to keep pace with the Colts. They host the Chiefs here. By the way, Trevor Lawrence, 26th birthday today, for whatever that's worth. Where are you right now on the Jags, and where are you on the Chiefs as we go into this Monday night matchup?
Yeah, they feel like two very different organizations in their just culture and their ecosystem, right? The Chiefs, we've talked about it this year, Chris Jones, the Travis Kelce's, they're definitely past the prime physically of their career. And yet they're a very proud and accomplished crew that knows how to do it mentally. And Mahomes is still in his prime, whereas Jacksonville, new head coach, kind of invigorating. Liam has got this he's got the Baker Mayfield. Not surprising they paired so well together, right? Like he's got some of that cocksureness even to Robert Saleh, bless his heart. Like I don't think I would do that to Robert Saleh. No. But they got young, fast, ferocious. Here's what I'm going to be watching a lot in the NFL. And again, it's prisoner of the moment as we're chatting right now, coming off of a really detailed conversation with Mike McDonald of how disappointed he was in his team's tackling. And over the course of an NFL season, Lance, as long as it is now, as hard as it is, I think these teams that can truly, truly tackle well, night in, night out, week in, week out, month in, month out, are going to be the ones standing at the end. In Jacksonville, the first 3-4 weeks of the season, when I've watched them, I'm like, whoa, those guys are young, they're hungry, they're ferocious. So keep an eye. I know I will tonight. When they hit, do they stop? When they hit, do they knock back? When they hit, are there no leaky hidden yards? If they do that tonight, they're going to be able to beat the Chiefs and I think get to 4-1.
He is Brock Huard. It is Unlocked, always brought to you by our friends at MyBookie. College football already cooking, NFL as well. We're about to close out week 5 in the NFL, and if you're playing a side, a total, a player prop, use that promo code. Next round, any bet you choose up to $500, fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, get it right back when you opt in using the bet back bonus token, code word next round at mybookie.ag. Hopefully you had a money line play on UCLA in the Rose Bowl taking on Penn State. Penn State coming off disappointing loss. Never thought about putting it on one of my screens on Saturday. And then it's like, oh, wow, they're down, but this isn't going to last. And they're down 7.5. Can they hold on? They were able to hold on and win that game. Nico looked like a 5-star guy. I know Jerry Neuheisel's getting a lot of credit, and deservingly so. I don't know how you explain Penn State losing a game to, at one point, it seemed like the worst Power 4 team out there. They already fired their coach. The offense was awful, and they go 10 of 16 on third downs against this Penn State defense. What happened in the Rose Bowl? Can you explain this?
No, I think it's inexplicable, and I think Coach Eck there in New Mexico is like, oh, maybe I need to schedule Penn State and have them make the trip to Albuquerque because they embarrassed UCLA and literally got Deshaun fired after that kind of performance. To think of the caliber of athlete as well, Lance, just a caliber of athlete that Penn State has defensively, and to play at that level. Now, it was double overtime. It was emotional. It was athlete for athlete against Oregon, right? It was a defense that day that really held the Ducks down for the first 60 minutes, really, really well and gave them every opportunity to win that game. The tank was empty. You fly across the country. It's a sleepy affair. It's a beautiful place. And you think you can just show up. We can just show up, man. We can just roll the ball out. And we are the better team, the better athletes, bigger, stronger, faster, prettier, all of it. And it was yet again a reminder that the great Mike Huard says that once you think your poop doesn't stink, you feel like, you realize that, you've crapped all over yourself. And they did. And then they tried to come back and tried to fight. And Drew made some great plays and they scored a bunch of points. But ultimately, it was just a really stinky effort out of the Nittany Lions.
How does something change middle of season? And I bring this up with Chris Ash because Al Golden goes from Notre Dame and they played for a national championship to the Cincinnati Bengals. Chris Ash, a guy that was well-respected, Ohio State, Rutgers coach for a little bit, takes over this defense, and they were garbage. And then over the last 2 weeks, they've forced 6 turnovers, and they've given up a total of 20 points between Arkansas and Boise State. It seemed like they were going to have a defensive problem the entire year. How does something like that change in the middle of the season?
Yeah, I would say this is an old Pete Carrollism, that you got to learn your learners. And a lot of times, and heck, through these 35 minutes we're chatting, I'm talking about body types and glutes and bigger, faster, stronger, and all that stuff. But I'm not talking about, actually how you guys learn. And when you bring in a new system, and this was a new system and some new components and the style you want to play, and you've got to learn through spring ball and through training camp, and you think you do until you play games, until you also play some of the best competition, and you kind of see what you are and what you're not, what you're teaching the kids well, what you're not, what they are learning and what they're not learning. And you do have to learn your learners, and there's no substitute for experience and time. I'm kind of seeing that at the high school level myself, wearing this hat as a coach and learning my tight ends. And I got 3 very different tight ends that learn in very different ways, that need to be communicated to in very different ways. And I think the same thing there is to just snap your fingers and go, oh yeah, oh, they can pick it up day one. Oh, yeah, they'll hit the ground running. No, they'll play the same kind of defense they did a year ago. I think, once again, a reminder that there is no substitute for time and experience.
Carson Beck right now, if I go back to August of 2024, I said this guy's going to go number 1 overall. Georgia's quarterback at that point. I think he's going to be the first guy selected in the 2025 draft. Season didn't go as planned. Obviously gets hurt in the SEC championship game. He's out. Gunnar Stockton's in. He transfers in the offseason. I didn't see this coming. It looks like he's put on weight. He's got weapons around him. Malachi Tony, C.J. Daniels, those guys are legitimate. They're undefeated. I think you can make an argument they've got the best resume as of through 5 games. I would still have Ohio State at number 1. I got no problem if you have Miami at number 1, though. They did get 21 votes in the AP poll. But where is Carson Beck for you right now? Is this still maybe a future number 1 overall pick in this year's draft?
Yeah, I don't know if I can go all the way to number 1. I think some of the throwing and the mechanics and some of the inconsistencies, Lance, I don't know if I go all the way there, but it is kind of remarkable to just kind of take the plane from ground level to 5 to 10,000 feet and look at it and look at, going into the season, who are the projected, look at the draft boards and who are the guys that were projected to be the top picks going in. Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenore Sellers, Arch Manning, right? Some of these guys that have all been largely in their spot and a lot of the attention, a lot of the hype. And then as we sit here right now, and this is what happens, it's why you play the games. Who is it? Carson Beck and Dante Moore, right? Both guys that needed fresh starts, both guys that were highly heralded, both guys that had to deal with some failure, had to watch some others. And then when they get the second chance, like, yeah, I'm not gonna let this opportunity down. And both of them, super friendly, QB friendly systems, talent all around them, excellent play callers, and you just are like, let's go, man. I'm ready to do what Cam Ward did. I'm ready to do what Dylan Gabriel and Bo Nix did. I'm ready to take the wheel because there's a lot of pieces in place and a lot of confidence they got in me, and then I'm playing with that same kind of confidence on the other end.
Maybe the most fascinating game coming up in week 6 or week 7 in college football in Autzen, Eugene, Oregon. The Ducks hosting Indiana. Indiana, the moment was too big last year when they went to the shoe and they had multiple miscues, special teams wise, and they got down early and they couldn't fight their way back. But now, this is an Indiana team that seems a little bit different. The game was in Bloomington, but they beat Illinois, a really good team. Right now, 5-1, number 17, by 53 points. Fernando Mendoza, I know you've seen him. He is legitimate. Yep. I think he will play on Sundays. I think he is one of the top 5-7 quarterbacks right now in college football. But you've played in Autzen before. How difficult is it when that crowd gets going? Dan Lanning's got an attitude. He brings it to his players. He brings it to the fans. They're 5-0. They're trying to make their argument for number 1. How difficult is that environment going to be for Mendoza and Indiana?
Yeah, Rice Eccles at night, UW when it's rocking, and Autzen Stadium are the 3 kind of west of the SEC land that are brutal to play in and to try to overcome. And as you said, when the game speeds up, and if the game speeds up, and if Oregon gets up in that game, it is going to be I think a very difficult affair. I love Cignetti. He is awkward. He is arrogant. He's a lot of things, and he has his team, largely always believing. But just personnel-wise, Lance, I don't know speed how they keep up. And in those venues, I've always also said to you that I think it's about a 1-step advantage, half-step to full-step advantage. When you can't hear and you have the Uyonglales off of the edge and the guys with the length that Oregon brings at you off the edge, and you have to look in and tackle at the ball because you can't hear anything, and you've got a silent count. By the time you reaction, look at the ball being snapped to the time you set, it's a half-step advantage to a group that's already a half-step or more faster than you at basically every position. So I don't know what's the early line on that one. Is that Oregon by 10.5?
7.5.
7.5. Oof. Yeah, that feels like that number may grow over the course of the week. But again, give Indiana credit, man. They took apart Illinois. They destroyed and decimated a beat-up secondary. Remember that Illinois at that point in that game was down 6 guys in their secondary, so they were picking on walk-ons and really had their way with them. That'll be a very different cast of characters they'll line up against in Eugene.
So every year going into the season, we do a little drill, and we look at the top 10 in the AP, and every year there's one top 10 team that is unranked at the end of the year. And I looked at it this year, and full disclosure, I said, 9 of these teams could win the national championship. The one outlier to me is Miami. Like, I could see them at the end of the year. And now when you look at their schedule, outside of that Louisville Friday night game, and the game isn't Hard Rock, Miami's probably going 12-0. But I said they were the one team that can fall out. Penn State's out. Texas is out. Clemson's out. What has happened to the top 10? How do you explain this? Is this all transfer portal?
Yeah, I think the playing field is just way more level. I think it's the same way at the NFL. I think we wanted to believe, and you and I were chatting last week, that Buffalo and Philly are head and shoulders above everybody else. And then you just kind of watch all the games, and they're all pretty close. And there's a play here and a play there, and an opportunity, who gets the ball last kind of deal. And there's just not that much that truly separates a lot of the teams in the NFL right now. I can't imagine any of them, Buffalo or Philly, running through the rest of the season without a loss. They're going to have 2 or 3 or who knows 4 losses. Could be the top seed on both sides of this thing this year. And in the college, yeah, it's the transfer portal. It is coaches departing, right? It is the amount of turnover at coordinator and head coach that we still see in this game. It is money that's dispersed. It's players that are hungry. It's what I said to you about Carson and Dante getting second chances. We've seen that now for years, from Penix to Bo to Jaden. Like, hey, man, you get a second crack at it. Carson Beck this year, and with better people around you, you may take off. So there's just not as much. There really isn't. I still think like an Ohio State, an Oregon, I still think these top teams have more of it. But there's a reason that Mr. Saban's on the set of game day, and he's now still not doing it with the whistle down in Alabama, because he knew, and the SEC is so representative of this every single week. There is not, like 20 NFL guys at Alabama versus 1 at Vanderbilt anymore. Like that's not the way it's going to go, and it really is kind of cool week to week to see the competition.
If I asked you right now, best quarterback in college football?
Yeah, I think it's these guys we're talking about. I think it is Mendoza's, been awesome. Beck has elevated. Dante has elevated. I think I don't know if I can extend much beyond that. I'm just trying to go through and process. I mean, obviously the kid at Ohio State has been awesome and super efficient.
Yeah,
but I think his line, his running backs.
By the way,
yes,
we can't pull the picture here. But, and this is a sad admission, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie She's the Man with Amanda Bynes, Channing Tatum.
Probably.
Yeah, Julian's saying looks like Amanda Bynes from He's the Man, or She's the Man. He's playing his ass off, though.
Oh, God, it's incredible. He's completing, 80% of his passes? I was looking at passer rating numbers of guys coming into our conversation here of, once again, how guys getting fresh starts. And, right, he moved to Ohio State, and, he had offers everywhere. He's committed other places, but he landed at the right place at the right time with the right people around him, and is flourishing. So he's up there. There's a little more than 4 or 5 games I need. I do kind of like that body of work. I do kind of like some past failure. I do like some of the grit and thick skin that comes with, some of the experience that a Beck and more have gotten other places. But it is fascinating, man. The Garrett Nussmeyers, the Drew Allers, the Lenore Sellers, the Arch Mannings, John Mateer's on that list as well, but he's banged up, and we'll see if he can play.
I mean, what a
Mateer.
To let you know, the Heisman odds right now, Dante Moore is your favorite. Carson Beck is right behind him at plus 750, and Ty Simpson is third on the list at 8-1 right now, plus 800. He finally throws his first pick over the weekend. They beat Vanderbilt 30-14. How much of that game did you get to watch?
Quite a bit. Yeah, I was flipping, we were working the remote. I taught Grandpa Mike the previous button and being able to, get real quickly to and from, and anticipating commercials and getting back.
It's an art. It's an art, man.
It is an art. I think he was blown away. I think he was more impressed by that than my quarterbacking for him in high school. He was, I think, pretty impressed. I got to see a bunch of it. And Lance, I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't want to leave today and this show and this conversation without mentioning him and how rare it is. Sit and watch for 4 years, to have the humility and to have the patience and to have the resolve and the self-confidence and the belief that, no, this is where I want to do it, and getting passed up and having coaching change and having another coordinator, and yet just the stick-to-itiveness, man. It's freaking awesome. It's awesome. And cool to see it all pay off with a guy that, at 23 years of age is just not overwhelmed, even by the first week failure when everybody was losing their ever-loving minds down there, to have the composure and the guts. And it's going to be every week now. Like, he doesn't get what AJ got, right? He doesn't get what Greg got. He doesn't get what Tua got. He doesn't get like a 14-point lead on every opponent almost, but 2 over the course of the season. Like, no, it's going to be gritty, and it's going to be tough, and it's a pretty level playing field, and your play is going to be an enormous part of the wins and the losses.
Yeah, I'll tell you the things I took away from it. I think he is an exceptional elite quarterback right now in college football. I think Jam Miller coming in and going 136 on the ground. That's really going to help balance that offense for Ryan Grubb. But one of the biggest takeaways for me was Vanderbilt's legitimate. Like, you pull that final touchdown from Dunaway when, it was 4th and 1, and instead of kicking or, just trying to get out of there with a win. I mean, that was really a 1-possession to 10-point game in Tuscaloosa the entire day.
Once again, just your eye test, Lance. Like, you've been doing this long enough. I would sit there, and I've shared this with you. Kind of the final thing I would do in our production meeting as a crew the night before is I'd pull out my big board, and I'd say, okay, 22 starters. How many of these is Buckeyes? How many of them are Northwestern Wildcats? How many of them are Crimson Tide players? How many of them are Commodores? Like, in the old days, those matchups would be 21-1. Like, if you had one guy or maybe two, you felt like, can we just keep it within 50? That's just not the case anymore, right? You're watching all these games in the SEC. You're watching all these teams. You're watching Vanderbilt got dudes, like a lot of dudes in their front seven. They got length. They can run, right? They got athletes that they didn't have 15 years ago. Like, it's a different world. They're paying their guys. They're believing. They're having success. Success begets success. And there's really very few teams in the SEC and the Big Ten, save for, again, Ohio State versus maybe some of their peers. There's more of a discrepancy. But, man, more and more teams have a lot of dudes, and it's making these Saturdays wild affairs.
Okay, before we get out of here, I'm going to do what we have done in the past. I am going to give you 3 games right now in the SEC. And I like, one of these underdogs is going to win, maybe all 3. I'm going to say at least 2, but here we go. Alabama is only laying 3 on the road against Missouri and Columbia. Oklahoma is a 3-point underdog to Texas, and then Georgia is only 3.5 on the road at Auburn.
Yeah. You got it. The Texas Oklahoma is so hard because I don't think we'll know to the end of the week with Mateer. If Mateer plays, they're the underdog.
I don't know.
If Mateer plays, if Mateer plays, they win. I think they win.
He's much better than Manning right now, right?
What's that?
I said Mateer is much better than Manning right now.
Yeah, I mean, just all that banked experience and all of that. Like, I'm not going to be overwhelmed by this, and a lot of it is on him. But all of the experience he has with Arbuckle and their time at Wazoo, and then his legs and his confidence. Now, coming off of a surgery, I mean, that's a real deal. Like, we'll see like how much reps and how much rust, and that one's hard because it's just. You'd really like to be a whole lot more in the know, feet on the ground, watching him practice. Can he practice? Can he play? He doesn't play. Texas wins. I think he plays. Oklahoma wins. Alabama at Missouri. Do you trust?
I don't know if Alabama can stop the run consistently. I really don't. Look, I give Kane Womack and that defense a lot of credit in the second half, pitching the shutout against Vanderbilt in the second half. But when you've got, Ahmad Hardy coming in, leading the FBS in rushing yards, second in touchdowns, they're first right now in the SEC, 292 yards per game on the ground. Now, you can look at who have they played. That's right. They beat South Carolina. They beat Kansas, so not great teams, but the game's in Columbia. I don't think we give enough credit to Eli Drinkwitz. I think he is becoming one of the better coaches in college football. I just think with their ability to run the football, I think that's a problem for Alabama right now.
Okay, so this is one of our narratives. I guess I'll lean into that one. If I said earlier, the one thing that's played fairly true through our 5-6 weeks is those teams trying to get over the hump, trying to prove they're not what they've been in the past. And is Missouri going to get over the hump and, not just be a top 20 team? Are they a top 10 team? Are they a top 5 team? Are you now deep enough in this with Eli, with his transfer quarterback in Bo Prabula, who's playing great, right? Put him in that box with these other transfers that's getting a second shot somewhere else and being the guy and taking it over. Yeah, I'll lean on to our narrative that you're not getting quite over the hump. It's going to be a great game, but the Mr. Simpson and some of my old Huskies that are on that roster and some of what Kalen and Grubb do in big games together in big moments, I'm gonna lean in the Tide getting that one done.
It is unlocked every single week. It is brought to you by our friends at MyBookie. Again, very important. Use that promo code next round. Any bet you choose up to $500 fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, get it right back when you opt in using the bet back bonus token. Code word next round at mybookie.ag, where you can still play the Tigers Mariners series best of 3 now. 1-1 Good luck to your Mariners. We'll know by the time we talk next week.
That's why these wrinkles. You're wondering, man, why does Huard have wrinkles? It's my livelihood. It's my bonuses. It's my ratings. Pretty much based on the Mariners' success. So
good luck to you, Coach.
We'll see you
Huard.
next week, my brother.
See you next week.
All right.